The streets are buzzing. New York Knicks 7 in a row, putting the beat down. We could get used to this. Man, as Karl Anthony Towns was physical and he was dominant in this one, Landry Shamet continues to give the Knicks a great spark off the bench. Tyler Kolek, minutes tonight with Deuce McBride out. First night of a back-to-back, ladies and gentlemen, as the New York Knicks won wire to wire, man. About 30-point victory as Josh Hart, Mo Diawara, banged up tonight though with an ankle situation, man. We'll keep you up to speed with that one as the New York Knicks will face the Nuggets tomorrow night, right, back at the Garden. And the Denver Nuggets are locked into a battle with the Detroit Pistons right now. So we'll take a look at that, man. And of course, the NBA trade period is buzzing. New homes for James Harden, Darius Garland, and Mike Conley, Nikola Vucevic. Let's talk about it, man. Who've been some of the winners and losers of the big trades that have gone down, man? And what's up with the Giannis situation, right? Are the Timberwolves now leading the race, right? A lot of people talking about that right now, reports coming out. But tonight, man, our New York Knicks continue to play good. 7 games in a row, man. Obviously, they took care of business in this one, and the starters got plenty of rest down the stretch, right? Mike Brown cleared the bench with about 9 minutes remaining, so you like to see that. Huck Porty, great minutes tonight. He was huffing and stuffing, was the big Huck, right? As we have those that don't see yet, James Harden, man, headed to Cleveland to pair up with Spider Mitchell, man. Darius Garland, injury concerns with Cleveland now. He gets a fresh start in LA, right? And also, Mike Conley, man, is he a buyout candidate, fam? Right? He has a great relationship with Kat. Mike Conley headed to Chicago as Jaden Ivey he's headed out to this one. He's headed to the Bulls as well. And Pistons get Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric too, right? And the Knicks could pick up Mike Conley, man, if he is bought out, because he's earning less than the mid-level, right? I'll give you my thoughts on the Nikola Vucevic trade as well, as Boston, I think, made a smart move, a stretch 5, right? Can't play no D, but he rebounds, and I think that is an upgrade over Keita and whoever else they had, Luka Garza as well. But man, shout out to the fans.
Is this the biggest takeover you can remember, Clyde?
Yeah. This surpassed the one in Philly when Philly did it.
Or is this the big?
We had the MVP chance, man, in the nation's capital as JB stepped to the line, man. It was full of Knicks fans like we expect, right? And the Knicks did not disappoint. Brunson went to work early. Shout out to everyone in the building. Lily Phillips, Johnny Chiba, Shez V, Tendrell, Yo Alpha, Tony from Denver, salute. Doug Fresh, great to see Chris Gotti in the building, and Nick's family coming through, man. We're buzzing right now, man. Give us your highlight of the 7-game winning streak so far, man. Can we get it to 8 tomorrow night, man? Back at home against the Nuggets. And obviously then the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics await our New York Knicks, right? Right. In the nick of time, we are playing our best basketball, right? But like I said, some injury concerns, right? Too. Lily Phillips says Mo is a keeper. He was, getting busy early tonight, man, with a crossover dribble. We'll bring up that play in a minute. But yeah, he got ruled out for the second half tonight, tweaked the ankle, man, and so did Josh Hart. So a bit of a sour note on this victory. Hart did not return either. It was late in the game anyway at that stage. But yeah, Hart's ankle, man, completely turned. And same with Diawara with the left ankle too. So we'll give you an update on Deuce McBride as well, as he's had some scans to, determine the severity of, the lingering issue he's been dealing with as well, with the ankle as well. I always say, man, ankles are tricky because they take longer to heal, right? And updates come through courtesy of McMenamin, right? ESPN says the Cavaliers, Knicks, and Warriors are considered plausible destinations for LBJ should he decide to play next season, right? Right, a lot of Knicks fans are already weighing in the comment section, right? LBJ for farewell tour. Let's see what's up with that, man. Continues to have the Knicks linked, right? But this was a wire-to-wire beatdown, man. We'll look at the stats, but the Knicks had 34 assists as a team, right? That's unbelievable. Shot 45% from downtown, right? We're playing our best ball, right? Coming up against this Detroit matchup and Denver coming up. But, look, Landry Shamet is a big part of that, man. He continued to knock down open shots. The Knicks played with an incredible pace and speed in this one. It was no letdown from the get-go. Like, they were on. And credit to the Knicks because, they could have just decided to turn up, and win by 5 points like they have in the past with, former coaches. But they were really, locked in. Cat, what a throwdown, man. Got the and one. The Giannis situation, like I said, it does look like, other teams are getting more aggressive than the Knicks, right? So is Giannis really looking at this and thinking, all right, get me to another team if you are aggressive? Minnesota reports that he really wants to play with Ant-Man, but the New York Knicks might be turning the page. Leon Rose is confident in this squad right now, and they are fully locked in, right? We just need to stay healthy. We just need to keep this thing healthy and a speedy recovery for Josh Hart and Mo Diawara because Mo's an important part of this run, fam. Right. What a dime from Tyler Kolek finding Mikal Bridges. This was one of my favorite plays of the game, man. Kolek, look, he's already out on the break and just put that, man. He put that on a silver platter for Mikal Bridges to lay that one in. How are y'all feeling about the point guard situation? We're obviously going to talk a lot about the trade period because we're in the thick of it right now, man. This was a wire-to-wire beatdown. Really looking forward to tomorrow night. Dr. Scotty, salute in the building. Podeska, what's good? Says too late for LeBron to join. Yeah, everyone want to join the gravy train right now because we're buzzing, And when we were struggling, LeBron James was happy to act a fool. But right now, man, yeah, I'm proud. I'm a proud Knicks fan. I'm feeling good right now. This team's turned the page, fully locked in now. Going for that second seed. We'll look at Boston tonight as well in the standings. But of course, tonight, man, nothing to get too carried away because it was Washington. But yeah, there was absolutely no letdown, right? And we're going to give out 3 game balls, right? We'll continue to roll these highlights and look at the numbers. But yeah, 34 assists and 45% from downtown, right? When we're moving the ball quick, guys are getting easier shots, easier buckets, and they are locked in now, man. OG Anunoby's playing at his best level right now. Karl Anthony Towns, man, I'm going to give him one of the 3 game balls because he wasn't efficient. 7 of 16. However, 14 rebounds from Karl Anthony Towns, man. Unbelievable. Absolutely dominant in this one. Plus 30 as well. Josh Hart was a plus 34. OG Anunoby with 19 points as the Knicks racked up 132, right? Mikal Bridges went 8 of 10, 3 of 4 from downtown, 23 points, plus 23. And of course, the sham god, Landry, man. He aired out Washington's dirty laundry, went 5 of 8, 4 of 6 from downtown, 14 points, also a plus 23 as well. Couldn't get to the foul line, not many rebounds, but Jordan Clarkson got some minutes as well because of Deuce McBride and the injuries tonight. But Errol Hukporti, man, 5 of 7 from downtown. He went 12 points on a plus 1. And Tyler Kolek continues his playmaking with 6 assists, plus 10. Inefficient tonight, but you love the playmaking and the 4 rebounds from Tyler. 34 dimes and also limited turnovers, man. Only 8 turnovers tonight, man. We're locked in, ladies and gentlemen. Now back to these highlights. Give us your thoughts on the trades. Right. Nikola Vucevic, I think that's a good pickup for Boston, given they're swapping out Anthony Simons and they're getting back a stretch 5. Right. So it's on like Donkey Kong, because I do think Tatum is going to come back now. I think Jason Tatum is going to come back. Nikola Vucevic, 35 years old, been playing less minutes, but yeah, he's still averaging 16.9 points on the season. So he's a 17 point, per game scorer still, 50% from the field. And if Nikola Vucevic gives him 25 minutes a night, that's a huge upgrade over Keita and Luka Garza. Obviously, they lost KP, Al Horford, and Luke Cornett. I think Boston's weak point has been the center position, and they've definitely got more offensive minded, right? But the Knicks going all in on the squad right now, man. Trade deadline, right, coming towards a close. Karl-Anthony Towns, right, being backed by Leon Rose, turning it around, playing more under control as well. We'll see how it all plays out in the run home, fam. Jose G says, I like the only 8 turnovers, 34 dimes. Yeah, you said it, fam. That's Knicks basketball, getting stops, limiting turnovers, man, as well. Shout out to Mike Brown and the coaching staff as well, man. Yeah, these guys have been a huge part of the turnaround. We've sung the praise of a lot of the players, but how about the coaches, man? Let's give them some praise, because they've helped this team lock in, correct some of the mistakes, and they're definitely on the way, man. We're on our way, baby. As Josh Hart, 4,000 career rebounds, right? The other night was JB, 10,000 career points. Now let's shout out Josh Hart. Salute to Lionheart. And hopefully, man, he ain't going to miss time, right? He might miss tomorrow with the ankle roll, and it will bring you up to speed, right? But is this play of the game, ladies and gentlemen? Let me correct that picture. Muhammad Diawara, look at this crossover, fam. Showing a new bag. Muhammad Diawara is in his bag, feeling good right now. And it's definitely taking advantage of his minutes, right? What a boost it is to have a rookie giving you solid minutes, man, on the two-way side of the floor, right? Full roster contract. Is it going to be a free agent coming up towards the end of our season? But the Knicks will have his bird rights. Yeah, Muhammad Diawara, I think him and Kolek deserve to stay in the rotation. Obviously, we're going to address everything after the trade deadline, because look, Clarkson could be gone. Yabusele, I think he's going to be gone. And I'm going to tell you who I think the Knicks might end up with. And we've been hearing a lot more links to this guy. He's a big man, Nick Richards. I think the Knicks are having issues, from what I'm seeing, getting teams to bite on the Yabusele deal. And I think Yves Missy, New Orleans want a first-round pick, or they at least want multiple seconds, right? And they're holding out. They're holding out for a larger package. I think the Knicks have interest in him, Sadiq Bey. They've got interest in Najee Marshall, and of course, Ayo Dosunmu as well, Tari Eason. Looks like Kobe White is going to get traded to the Rockets. It looks like reports saying they're in advanced discussions, and the Bulls really want to get Tari Eason for Kobe White. So that hasn't been done yet. We'll see what plays out with that one, man. But that'd be crazy. But yeah, in terms of Ayo Dosunmu, that's a name I really like. But I don't know if the Knicks have enough assets or are willing to move on from too many picks, right, to get off of Yabusele and get a good player, because the Giannis thing is still out there. It's still fluid. But I think a guy like Nick Richards or Jose Alvarado is very, very realistic, fam. Let us know how you feel about that, right? Is it redundant? Kolek's playing better. Hakpority looks solid, but the Knicks are going to have some roster spots to fill if Yabu and Dardier get going, right? I think Yabusele is basically got to have his bags packed, I think, at this stage, and he's just waiting, man. He's waiting for the call. We're waiting for the call right now as well, but back to the play on the court, we're buzzing because, as Buzzer Beater asked last time, man, are these players really stepping it up amidst the trade talk? Right, no one want to get traded. Everyone wants to step up their play at this time, in the nick of time as well. Yeah, Jose, man, Hart is critical to our team, man. We need him fully healthy. But look, yeah, I'm going to be optimistic. It didn't seem like it's, a bad one. I think it was a tweak. Those can take maybe a week or two. Nothing major. Yeah, hopefully headed into the playoffs, we are fully healthy. But I guess, look, that just speaks to why this trade deadline is still critical because, you could lose a guy any minute. Physical game, Knicks are playing at a faster speed, higher tempo, all these things, are critical, right? We're going to shout out some other news as well. Dink Pate, right? Shout out to him. Got a call up for the G League next up game as well. Does he get called up for a two-way? Oh, actually, no, he rejected the two-way, but does he get an actual roster spot, right? Yeah, we talked about the Giannis situation. Latest reports that the Minnesota Timberwolves, man, are getting real aggressive to try to pull that move for Giannis, right? Giannis wants to pair up with Ant-Man, but the reports also clarify that the Timberwolves are looking for a 4-team trade to get it done, right? So the Knicks won't be there to help them out. Absolutely not. But if the Timberwolves can find 3 other teams to help them get that done, man, Giannis might just really be a Timberwolf. I've seen a lot of people say that Giannis will make it to the summer on the Bucks. I'm not so sure. I'm really feeling like he will get traded. Just there's a lot of smoke right now, and I think the Bucks want to get on with the rest of their season and tank. Now, they could come to a mutual agreement and say, look, Giannis just sits out a little bit longer and, rests up, and maybe he only comes back towards the very end of the season. But I think it's just going to come down to the packages, fam. But I do think that the Bucks are really fielding offers now, and they're creating that bidding war. Definitely. Chris says bad timing for Hart to get hurt. Yeah, there's never a good time, man. As you see on the screen, teams with the best defensive field goal percentage, man, right? Quarter for the 25-26 regular season. The New York Knicks, man, leading at 42.1%, right? This is in the fourth quarter. Let me clarify. So we have the best defensive field goal percentage in the fourth quarter for this whole entire regular season. The New York Knicks #1, baby, 42.1%, right, ahead of the Detroit Pistons. So, guys, fast finishing Knicks, knowing how to step it up in the fourth quarter, right? Some other news as well. Landry Shamet, is he the best bargain in the NBA right now? Dan Favali, friend of the program, wrote a great piece for Daily Knicks. Quote, Knicks landed the NBA's biggest bargain after all. Landry Shamet, man. What a player he's become for the Knicks right now during this run. Second consecutive game ball. David M says Desunmu would be a good pickup. Yeah, I love him, man. Good size. He's going to be a free agent. And I do think the Bulls have a glut of guards now, man. We're going to go through the full trade outlay, but, they send out Vucevic, Kevin Huerter as well. Kevin Huerter's going to, he's going from the Bulls to the Pistons. Jaden Ivey going back to the Bulls. Mike Conley as well. They've got so many guards right now, man. I do think they're going to try to trade Desunmu and try to get something back before he gets traded, right? But Landry Shamet, 5 of 8, 4 of 6 from downtown, continues to be unconscious. Batum's a good name. Let's see what happens with the Clippers, David. I like that one. Dr. Scotty Scott says Yabu, Pacome, and a pick for Freaky Sadiki. What do you say? Need more? More Nova. That would be the dream, man. Sadiq Bey would elevate this team to unequivocally being the best team in the East, in my opinion. But I'll settle for a Najee Marshall, man. I would settle for Ayo Dosunmu because I do think those guys would also be a great fit. Let's see what Leon Rose can do, man. I got a good feeling. I think we'll end up with a couple of pieces. But I do think that, like I said earlier, I do think like a Nick Richards is realistic. There's been some connection between Phoenix and the Knicks. They've had conversations as well. I don't think Yarbor Sele's value is great, man. It's not good. It's not good at all. We might have to part with a couple of seconds in order to get off of his money and get a decent player in return. But teams are going to be asking about bigger names. Deuce McBride. Teams are going to be asking what's up with Mo Diawara now. As Glenn Jones says, salute as always, CT. I'm glad to see the win streak, but we beat bad teams, which we should. We got to show we can beat the Celtics and the Pistons, man. Salute to the best live on YouTube. Great to have you hang with us tonight, Glenn, as always, man. Appreciate your presence and everyone in the chat and replay squad. Let's go, Knicks. 7 in a row now. How high can we go, fam? We've got Denver, we've got the Pistons, and then we have the Boston Celtics, like Glenn said, fam, right. So I can reveal right now, man, the game has just concluded. The Nuggets, hard-fought loss. 121 got pipped by the Pistons to 124. So the Pistons get the narrow victory over the Nuggets, fam. But their game was a lot more hard-fought than our game tonight. We were arrested, right? So tomorrow, we get after it, man. Back at home, 7 o'clock tip versus the Nuggets. And then we have the Pistons, Celtics, Indiana, and Philly right before the All-Star break. Right, so we'll preview that. But I think, yeah, we'll win tomorrow night. I'm confident. And then I think it's going to be all on the line, man, to go for a 9-game winning streak, which I think this would beat Thibodeau. I think this would beat a Thibodeau streak, a Knicks streak under Thibodeau. I think we got to 8. We got to 8 or 9 under Thibodeau. Not to try to compare teams or coaches right now. I'm just talking about the streak. Now, if we can get to a 9-game winning streak, I think we will tie the longest streak we had in recent memory, fam, under Tibbs, right, against Detroit, man, at Little Caesars Arena. That is going to be a hot ticket, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait for that game, but we've got business to take care of, man, tomorrow night too. So in terms of more highlights tonight and these trades, an update as well. Yeah, more buyout names. Sleeper Knicks posed this one. New York native, Slow Mo, Kyle Anderson, man. That could be a consolation prize. You go out there, you try to get Alvarado, you try to get Najee Marshall, Yves Missy, Sadiq Bey if you can. Not likely though, or some of these other guys, Ayo Dosunmu. But if not, we might get a decent player to fill a spot from a buyout, right? Javon Carter's already out there. He could be a consolation if we can't get Alvarado for that type of insurance. He's not going to get in the way of Tyler Kolek, but I think he's a defensive-minded point guard. Had a decent game in his last game for the Bulls before he got cut for money purposes. So we'll wait to see what plays out with that one. Basically, like I said, the Timberwolves salary dumped Mike Conley. He's $10.7 million. So there's talk that the Bulls haven't decided whether they're going to cut him or not. So we'll see what plays out, right? But the Cleveland Cavaliers were worried that Donovan Mitchell wasn't going to re-sign with them, man. And I think they were correct, right? It's been a bit of a mess over there. So the blockbuster trade, man, James Harden pairing up with Donovan Mitchell. Does this make Cleveland more of a threat, man? My take is that, Look, Garland's small. He's always been injured. I think this will help Cleveland in the very, very short term, but it's nothing to really worry about, right? I'm not concerned with Cleveland at all. They're so far back. It'll be interesting. We might see them in the second round. We might end up getting them in the first round, but Donovan Mitchell, man, always struggles against JB in the playoffs. And I do think, Brunson and co going to feel extra confident. We're just too gritty. We're too gritty for Cleveland, in my opinion. Mitch has got their number. Josh Hart is a killer for them. Jalen Brunson, like I said, man, he kills Donovan Mitchell in a head-to-head. So that is my thoughts on the Cleveland situation, right? If I'm a Cavs fan, I'm not going to be feeling too happy moving on from the homegrown and just to get James Harden back. But look, Harden can still go off. I do think it's going to take a load off of Spider in the short term. But it really ain't anything to be scared of, man, when it comes to being a Knicks fan. Now, what did Detroit pick up today? Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric, and a pick swap, and they got off of Jaden Ivey. So, look, Jaden Ivey's been a big player for them this season. They get Kevin Huerter back. They get Kevin Huerter in the deal and Dario Saric. So, look, Kevin Huerter gives them a little bit more size, another wing. I think it's a decent trade for Detroit, but they are selling low on Jaden Ivey. Obviously, they don't want to lose him to free agency, so they just tried to get whatever they could get. First round pick swap, I guess, is decent, and you get a couple of potential end of the bench guys in Huerter and Saric, right, for Jaden Ivey. But I think they're selling quite low on Jaden Ivey in that one. And the Bulls pick him up, and they'll get Mike Conley as well. Now, we don't know if Conley is going to get cut, but I'd be all over that, man. I'd be all over it if Mike Conley does get waived, right? I think that would be an excellent buyout target, like David said. He has that relationship with Cat. Let's not forget Gerson Rosas, right? Former Minnesota president. I think he was the one that traded for and signed Mike Conley when Rosas was with Minnesota. So the Bulls have got a lot of guards, man. They've got Josh Giddey, Ayo Dosunmu. He might be on the move. Kobe White might still be on the move. Vucevic no longer a Bull. And we'll see what plays out with Mike Conley, man. But I'd be all over that. Not a great defensive kind of guy, but I would pick him up. Maybe look at Javon Carter as well if we can't get the Alvarado done. On that note, man, Building Block says we don't need Alvarado. And I kind of agree. I kind of agree with it. I would like a guy with more size. I get the theory behind the Alvarado pickup, which is to get an extra ball handler, but to get better defensively. But again, Alvarado's small, and we have a couple of small guards already. And Tyler Kolek is playing well. He's playing well with confidence. I would continue to roll with that. Like I said, you could just pick Javon Carter up on a buyout if you want. I would prefer Alvarado over Javon Carter, but I'm just saying if that's a consolation, you go heavy for a bigger wing. You try to get a bigger wing, whether it be Najee Marshall, Jeremy Sohan's name is still out there, and of course the upper echelon guys with Tari Eason, and those guys. Ayo Dosunmu is still out there too. David says this is a disaster waiting to happen with Jay Harden as well. He was linked to Atlanta, man. He'd like the nightlife out there. Chancellor says Cleveland is more of a threat just because a Harden will play and Garland won't. Harden can also run that pick and roll well. Yeah, I think Cleveland's hopes rest on, the way they always have, I think, on Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. For the most part, Spider always pulls his weight. He shows up. He puts up buckets. Garland, like you said, doesn't show up. And they need more, Can Evan Mobley give them enough? Right? If they can keep the game close enough, that's where the James Harden pickup will be beneficial. Because, in the fourth quarter, if the game's close enough, Harden and Spider, can keep you going in the fourth quarter. Uh, now, it wasn't the sexiest pickup, but I think the Boston Celtics have probably done the best to make over their team. We don't. I mean, we've seen how much Vooch has left. The sun is starting to set on his, a career. He's 35 though. Still got a little bit left in the tank. I still feel 17 points per game, shoots 50% from the field, and has 9 rebounds per game. So he's going to rebound. He's still going to score for Boston, and that's an upgrade, over Cater and Luka Garza. So they lose Anthony Simons though. I think they can pick that up with some of their other wings. So I think Boston got probably 15% better, 10, maybe 15% better with this pickup. But we know Vucevic can't guard a traffic cone, man. He's a turnstile. So I don't think you can play Vooch 30 plus minutes in the playoffs. Let's not forget, Chicago have failed to be a playoff team with Vucevic in his prime as well. For one of those reasons, man, he can't guard no one. I think Karl Anthony Towns is probably better as a defensive player than Vucevic. But on the offensive end, man, he's an upgrade too. Optimus 2G says Knicks don't have the space to sign Conley until early April. They would have to dump some salary first in the next 2 days. Yeah, I think that's basically a foregone conclusion. You're absolutely correct in terms of X's and O's. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that Yabusele and someone else will get moved in terms of outgoing salary. It just depends on the salary we take back. I think we're going to do Dardier a solid. He might get sent somewhere else. It might be Yabu to one team, like Yabu for Nick Richards. That works financially. We might need to give them a second round pick. And if that's all we can get, if that's the best we can get, I still do it. Because Yabusele just can't be played right now. And, Nick Richards can be whatever. He can be backup. He can be insurance. It's better than nothing. And I think you save a little bit of money and you can sign the 15th guy sooner, fam. And then look, if there's a team that is just looking to accumulate young players, maybe someone can absorb Dardier, in his rookie contract. Worst case scenario, they don't believe in Dardier, they can just not pick up his option. So any team that wants to acquire Pacome Dardier has flexibility because you can just not pick up his option. You can decline his rookie option or rookie contract, third year option. Maybe a team like Brooklyn, I don't know, maybe we could get a second round pick for someone. That's wishful thinking, but hopefully someone can just take Dardier as salary. That'd be good. And we'll see what plays out, man. I do think there's going to be a couple of decent names get bought out. Leon Rose might be pinning his hopes on that one. We'll see what happens. Chris says Harden is notorious for choking down the stretch in the playoffs, plus no D. You said it, man. What a poster from Kat tonight. Chancellor says Celtics made a smart move that improves their team and the cap. Celtics are below first apron now. Yeah, and something tells me Minnesota are onto something, fam. And Chicago, they're trying to shuffle the decks. They're going to send out Kobe White. If the Rockets can get Kobe White, I think that'll be very good for them. They need another guy. They might have to give up Tari Eason. I think they're very reluctant to do so, so far. But look, worst case scenario, more Diawara, man. Mo Diawara in terms of minutes. Prayers up for his recovery. I'll refresh now to see if we got any new updates. Muhammad Diawara started the game hot. He's been playing well so far. I see now, reports Mark Stein, Giannis Antetokounmpo has zero interest in going to Portland. Right, so there's a lot of teams start to get a bit too crazy. I think Charlotte fancied themselves to try to get Giannis, and Portland over the last day, but they got no chance, man. They're not quite there yet in terms of able to compete, right? The Utah Jazz getting amongst it as well, pairing up Larry Markkinen with Jaren Jackson Jr. How could I forget about that trade? That trade was obviously done earlier, and we'll talk about that one as well. But breaking news. I'm going to load this up right now. Breaking news. For the first time this season, ladies and gentlemen, our captain, you see how giddy he is and the connection with the squad. Good vibes tonight, man, in DC. As Jalen Brunson gets defensive player of the game, right? Fit him up for the hard hat Tims and vest. He came to work today, did Jalen Brunson, in limited minutes, right? He got the night off from the game ball because, man, Brunson been collecting game balls for fun, but he was very inefficient tonight, 7 of 16, but got 2 steals and was a team plus 22, plus 32. Got to the foul line 7 times as well. So shout out to the captain, man. How funny is that? Live update. The captain, defensive player of the game. Feeling good. And shout out to Mikal Bridges. You know, we haven't talked too much about Mikal. We know the blueprint for Mikal Bridges. The bar has been set in terms of what is expected of Mikal Bridges, right? He needs to be more physical defensively, but outside of that, man, when he's getting to his spots and he's aggressive, you know, he is a major asset, right? There's talk that Portland are interested. Is that enough to grease the wheels to get Giannis in the summer? I do think Leon Rose has already decided that he's going to keep the core together until the playoffs, right? All the way through to the end of the season, man. We ride till the wheels fall off, ride or die with this squad. And then I do think we'll assess when it does come to the summer, fam. Chris Gotti says, congrats to JB. Finally, David M. JB, what's good? Buzzer beaters in the house. Let's go. New York Flash. Optimus says, Knicks like to do business with the team they beat tonight. Look for old friends Scott Perry in Sacramento too. Precious can be traded starting tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks get him back. Yeah, that's a fair point about the connections, you know. We've got a lot of guys in the locker room. You know, a lot of connections. Look out for some New York natives as well. Champagne. You know, there is a couple of Champagnes out here. We did play one tonight. And I do think it's a case of a guy who could, you know, eat up some minutes, maybe a more defensive, bigger version of Clarkson. Now, you can never have enough shooting, in my opinion. So that's something I would look at. Slow-mo Anderson, you know, doesn't have that much left in the tank, but I think worst case scenario, he can, you know, he can guard up. He can defend multiple positions. He would be okay on a buyout. I'm not trading for Kyle Anderson, but yeah, if he's a buyout candidate, as we look at our team rolling, guys, and keeping the core together, we are the attractive asset in the room in terms of buyout candidates, looking at, you know, how can I go to a good situation, right? Look at the Knicks right now. If we were to open up 2-3 roster spots in the Yabu and Dardier trade and the 15th roster that we can sign, I think, you know, there's going to be some names, you know, linked. Hopefully some good ones. Don't know what's going to be up with Russ. You know, Russell might stick in Sacramento. Look, there's going to be a lot of upheaval, man. I think this trade deadline, in terms of, I think maybe the blockbusters have been had already, but as we wait till the summer with Giannis, potentially, if that doesn't go down, this deadline. I do think it's going to be a lot more volume in terms of more names, moving teams, but lesser names, but more of them in terms of guys getting cut and traded as well. Look, LeBron James, latest report suggests that
Time on Sunday.
latest report suggests that LeBron James and the Lakers are done. They're going to go their separate ways at the end of the season. That's not too much of a surprise to me. Would I welcome LeBron James on the Knicks? Look, 6 months ago, I would have said, "Oh, what the hell?" On a cheap deal, free agency. I wouldn't trade for LeBron. But right now, I'm probably leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards no, even for next season, even if it's on the cheap. And look, I don't think the Knicks would be at the very top of his destination. He's probably going to go back to Cleveland, man. Who the hell knows? Maybe even Miami if they are a contender. Although I don't know that relationship between Pat Riley and LeBron right now. That could be a little bit frigid too. Yeah, that's it, Buzzer, man. We are the prettiest girl at the dance. You already know, man. People lining up to join them and hook up. And so let us know who would be the ideal buyout candidate for y'all. Most of the trade options I know, and y'all know what is out there. I do think it's a case of, look, fit. Perfect timing, you could say, with Kolek being able to showcase, right? Despite Deuce McBride having that setback, it's enabled Kolek to really get busy, and rediscover what he's best at, which is facilitating, finding Huck Porty there for the Summer League connection. Right? And I'm happy for Tyler. Look, ultimately, he might see sparing minutes in the playoffs, but I think I said this last stream, you can't count out how the series goes. Series to series, it's different. Detroit series, I think, is going to be different to, a series against Cleveland or a series against Miami. Miami, Cleveland, they play fast. They like to get up and down. That suits Kolek. A real physical, grinded out game where every single possession is going to be critical against Detroit. That might not be a series for Tyler Kolek. We've got to see how that plays out. But, we haven't really heard much buzz about Jose Alvarado recently. I know that was an obvious name, people have been, speculating about, New York native, Pelicans haven't been playing well, ideal name. But then there was a report saying that Alvarado wouldn't mind, staying, and staying on his team. So we haven't really heard any news recently since then. So I do think it's a case of like, it's going to be what the Pelicans want. Look, Yabusele is not a desirable name. I think it's just going to come down to, are the Knicks willing to move on from a couple of seconds? And I'm not moving the Washington first, which is going to project to 2 seconds, right? I'm saving that. That is a critical asset, fam. I would think about moving on from that if we could get Tari Eason, if we could get, Sadiq Bey, maybe even Najee Marshall. I'd be willing to maybe move on from that one because I know how impactful those guys could be. But outside of that, man, I'm keeping that Washington protected first, which is going to end up being a couple of seconds, right? At the high end of the second round, most likely the 31st pick. What happened to Kevin McCullough? Two-way contract right now. You do have a game limit, but I do think it's more so Kevin McCullough is getting minutes with the G League squad. I think the Knicks brought him up. They got a good look at him. He played in the rotation for quite a bit, but that was due to some injuries. I think Shamet coming back has changed some things, fam. And I just think Mike Brown got Kolek. He's got Diawara ahead of McCullough, which I think is fair enough. I do think McCullough got some valuable experience. I'd love to see him play more, but I just think, yeah, a couple of guys are ahead of him right now. Would have been good to see him play a little bit more tonight, but obviously no Pacome Dardier either. So we pull up the stats now, right? Trey Jemison on the 2A even got some minutes. Dylan Jones on the 2A got some minutes. But Yarbor Sele, DNP, and Pacome Dardier, nowhere to be seen, fam. So I do think, the wheels have definitely been greased on a trade, and I do think it could happen at any moment, fam. Could be a separate deal, or it could be together in this one. How do y'all feel about that, right? I'm just going to refresh to see any other news coming through. Continue to shout you guys out. We've got the streets buzzing. Knicks looking good right now with 7 in a row. Can we make it 9 if we beat Detroit? Can we make it 10 if we can get through and be undefeated against Boston, right? So we have an injury update, fam. Steve Popper of Newsday says Hart and Diawara both walked out without a boot, moving well. Damn. So that is good news, man. We get a thumbs up for that. Mo Diawara and Josh Hart without a walking boot and looking like they're moving well. So we'll see early tomorrow on the injury report too. But short travel, which is good, fam. Light travel back to New York City after getting busy in DC, and a wire-to-wire victory. As you see, man, at no point did Washington lead, right? No lead any point in the game, man. It was one-way traffic, man, from New York City to DC. And the longest run was 14 by the New York Knicks. 34 assists is one of the season highs. 45% from downtown is my favorite stat. Fam, that is my favorite stat. And 8 turnovers, like Jose G said earlier. I like the 5 blocks. 6 steals, 5 blocks. We actually lost the rebounding, but who the hell cares? Because it was a complete domination. But Karl Anthony Towns, 14 rebounds, 2 steals was big as well. Cat continues to get a bad whistle. Even Huck Porty gets a bad whistle, in my opinion. Like, I know Huck Porty at times, he's a little overzealous, and when he's going to commit that foul. But I feel like Huck Porty has cleaned up, on, some of his positioning situations and just staying vertical, and he still gets called for the foul. So I think he's got a bad rap. Obviously, he's getting a rookie whistle right now. Is Huck Porty, or a sophomore whistle too. But in terms of the NBA's biggest bargain right now, you'd be hard-pressed finding a better guy than Landry Shamet. 4 of 6 from downtown. All of that on the veterans minimum contract, right? Unguaranteed. Let that sink in, man. This has definitely been one of our best free agent signings on the veterans minimum, man, going way back. Obviously there's a lot more to go. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because I do want to see Landry Shamet play like, a prolonged, consistent run. But I think we're going to go all the way back since, we've had some solid veteran minimum guys, but they've kind of just been like, okay, meh, plug and play, not always trustful. You just never know what you're going to get. But with Landry Shamet, you know what you're going to get, fam. So I'll say we'll go all the way back. I think when the Knicks signed J.R. Smith. Remember when J.R. Smith was in China? He was out of the league. I think he was dealing with some of the issues. Went out of the league. And I think the Knicks used, they had a little exception. It might not have been the full veterans minimum. I think it was the it was somewhere like a 2.5, 2.7 million, biannual exception or something. And the Knicks used that to get J.R. Smith back from China. and he lit it up with Linsanity as well. That was one of the year before, I think he won the six man, and we had Mike Woodson. He re-signed and then he won the six man the following year. But in terms of that pickup, in terms of the price and the bargain, I'm going to put Landry Shamet right up there. I think as one of the best, cheapest pickups as a free agent going back since that J.R. Smith pickup, man, because that was lightning in a bottle, and J.R. Smith was a huge pickup, as a six man, like we saw. So yeah, we shouted out Landry, Johnny Chiba, Diawara shined bright like a diamond, and then he was gone. Yeah, young legs, he'll be fine, man. I think Diawara he's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be good. No walking boot. So yeah, I think they'll just do their routine scans. Hopefully, X-rays come back negative, and I just got to reduce the swelling. Damn, but no walking boot is a great sign with no travel really back to New York City. I think they'll probably catch the train or maybe the Dolan jet. Dr. Scotty Scott says Knicks cruising, Wizards bruising. Facts, man. In the words of Clyde, I like that. New York City Grays salute says, "Are Knicks hiding K-Mac and Pate to keep them out of trades?" They can't be traded, actually. It's a good thought. I don't know if the Knicks are hiding them at all. I think a couple of guys are ahead of them. And look, Mike Brown doesn't want to get too wacky with the rotations because, we are in the home straight now. I think he's trying to nail down his playoff rotation. He likes those guys. And I know Knicks fans, we want to see these guys play more. But I think, you got to pick and choose the timing. McCullough's on the two-way contract. You want to make sure he's got enough games eligible. I think he's already played something like 20 games. So you want to make sure that in case you lose some bodies, that he can still play more games down the stretch. We'll see what plays out. I just think, there's more guys ahead of them at the moment. It'd be interesting to see what happens with after Dardier gets moved, most likely, and Yabu, because then there's choices, man, about buyouts. There's choices whether we want to give Dink Pate a real deal, in advance for next season. It might be future proof and thinking forward about Dink Pate and not losing out on him. That could be a situation as well. But like I said earlier, Dink Pate made the G League Showcase All-Star. So shout out to Dink Pate for that one. I do think Bryson Warren got the call up as well. But here's our rook. Our first year rook, Muhammad Diawara from the second round. This season, man, our only rook this season, basically. Little razzle-dazzle. Had him shook. Had Alex Sarr on skates with that one, man. Flashing some new bag. Also, Muhammad Diawara knocked down a three, if I stand corrected. Muhammad Diawara, yes, he was 2 of 2, 100% from the field, and 1 of 1 from downtown. 5 points, +4 with an offensive rebound, and an assist as well in just 4 minutes. So, some good little razzle-dazzle, man. Is he the best French prospect on our squad? Absolutely. Yabu, looks like Dardier going to be gone, man. He's going to be the lone Frenchman. Clarkson was auditioning tonight for potential suitors, says Johnny Chiba. Yeah, I think the league kind of knows what Clarkson can do, especially he got busy in the NBA Cup. And I do think Clarkson's not washed. He's still got game left at 33. So, look, if we can swap him out and get something back in terms of like a Champagne or Alvarado, we could just find a way to get his money off if we aren't going to play him and turn him into someone else who can defend. But I'll be glad, because Leon Rose, I think we should be looking at some defensive players, and I think we should be looking at for some size and some defense, and I'm good. Landry's hitting shots. Ducey's going to come back. And I think we're in a great position overall, fam. So now looking ahead, let me pull up tonight's action, fam, and we'll look around the league and then take a look at our schedule. So, yeah, the Pistons continue their winning ways. Interesting trade moving on from Jaden Ivey, who he's not, he wasn't a nothing this season. He was a serious part of their team. So we'll see what happens with them and Kevin Herter. I think they get Herter and they get Dario Saric. Right, let me pull those details up, man. There's been so many minor trades. My head's all over the place right now. Want to get that right. Definitely want to make sure I've got this one right. So, where are we at? Yes, Pistons get Kevin Herter, Dario Saric. I'm 100% correct. And they get the first round pick swap, which is valuable with Minnesota. And the Bulls get Jaden Ivey, Mike Conley too. So, look, the Bulls got better, I think. The Bulls got a couple of pieces which I think can help them make the play-in if they so want to, continue. But they got the Heat lost to the Hawks today. Who else played? We had the Celtics. They beat the Mavericks. The Magic lost. The Miami Heat lost as well. Philadelphia are in a battle with the Golden State Warriors, looking to shake things up as well and try to get in that Giannis sweepstakes. And yes, the Bulls did lose to the Bucks today, right? So we pull this one up, refresh the standings, and despite the Celtics winning, our New York Knicks win as well. So we hold on to that second seed, right? Yeah, the Celtics won today. I don't think they've updated that. I think we should be locked in 32 apiece and 18 losses, right? So it's neck and neck, but we do have separation on the Raptors right now, who are 2 games back and 2.5 games back of the Knicks, 2 games back of Boston, right? Look, the big trade I think was obviously the James Harden situation and Jaren Jackson yesterday, but with Cleveland, right? I think we're going to know in the next 10 to 15 games. And coincidentally, Cleveland play the Clippers tomorrow, right? So I don't think the new players are going to be able to play in that matchup. But you got James Harden with Cleveland, Darius Garland with the Clippers now. And I don't think the trade will be finalized by tomorrow, but you just never know. Cleveland playing the Clippers, man. What timing. You can't make this up. Right, so there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our Knicks still in second, and we'll see what Leon Rose can get done and what he can pull off. Right, I'm excited to see what happens because we do have roster spots to fill regardless. Right, we do have some spots that we got to fill, and I do think we're going to do a solid with Yabu and with Dardier. But with Yabu, we're trying to do ourselves a solid, and move on from his contract. What's up, Al Tango? Great to see you. Dr. Scotty says trade deadline time. It is exciting, man. Let's go. It feels like kind of a kid at Christmas. You don't know what you're going to get. What is Santa going to leave in our stocking, right? The trade deadline, man. Santa Leon, bring us something, man. Bring us some production. If not, get a good buyout. Right, get a good buyout. Now, there was a report saying that Yabusele is being lined up by Maccabi in Europe. Right, that's not possible unless Yabusele gets bought out, because he has a contract, ladies and gentlemen. He can't sign with Europe, and no Europe team can sign Yabu. He's got an NBA binding contract. That's only possible if there's rumblings on the streets, if that Yabu gets a buyout. But best believe the Knicks aren't interested in buying out Yabu. Make no mistake, we will part with assets to move off of his money if we have to, because we're not going to just eat that money. That's dead money. I'm not buying out Yabu. That's dead money right now. We are going to move on from Yabu. We have to. Right. Now, is it going to cost us 1 second-round pick? Is it going to cost us a young player? Depends what we're going to get back, right? I do think Nick Richards is a guy that Phoenix aren't too fussed about. Is it a 3-team deal where someone else takes Yabu? We get Nick Richards. We'll see what happens, man. Obviously, good showing from Huck Porty tonight. You know, loved him getting active. He looks more confident now. The pressure, you know, is getting to some of the guys, and you know, pressure makes diamonds, fam. Pressure makes diamonds. Who's a diamond? Who's stepped up under pressure? Tyler Kolek, Landry Shamet, Mohamed Diawara, and now Huck Porty got to shine tonight. And an honourable shout out to Trey Jemison. We know Trey Jemison likes to get active, but again, there's that tricky situation when these guys are on the two-way, because yeah, they just can't play. They can't play full time on a two-way contract. It is a developmental contract where it's mostly for the G League, you know, for guys to get paid a little bit more bread and play more with the G League, but get a little bit of NBA experience when the bodies are down. Now, if I am looking to convert one of the current two-ways, it would be McCullough. Dink Pate, obviously he doesn't want a two-way. That's already been established. He wants a real deal, or he's going to go back to college and earn NIL money. But if there's an open roster spot, the 15th spot, I would seriously consider Dink Pate. But again, maybe that's for next season. Dink Pate might be patient and willing to see the season out on the current deal that he's on, and then we get to sign him, you know, maybe at the start of next season. Because I do think the Knicks are in veteran mode. Obviously, they're trying to win that chip, and that is what, you know, they'll do according to the roster moves, right? In my opinion, right? We're going to wrap this one up, and we're buzzing tonight. Trade deadline happening. We'll have a live stream, man, covering everything, right up until the deadline. El Tango, yeah, Diawara, no walking boot, and was moving well outside of the locker room. So it looks like Hart and Diawara might just need to let the swelling go down. Yeah, nothing major. We avoided any major situations pending, you know, the X-rays. So yeah, we're still in a good spot. Bodies will get more opportunities tomorrow night. Expect Huck Porty. Mitch sat tonight as well. Optimus, yeah. Dink Pate, no one has his rights. Actually, great question. If Dink Pate goes back to college, you know, when he's ready, he's available for anyone to pick up. Because the Knicks never drafted him. The Knicks never signed him to a regular roster deal. He's never even been on a two-way. He's simply on a G League deal. So anyone can pick up Dink Pate. We don't have his rights. No NBA team has his rights. So he will go to college most likely next season if a team doesn't offer him a real deal. You know, so I think the Knicks, you know, he's in our backyard. You know, I do think Dink Pate, you know, might be a guy that, you know, has had talks with the Knicks, and we'll see what happens post-trade deadline. You know, we'll know a lot more when that comes. But 32-18, 7 in a row, man. Sky's the limit. Let's get after it tomorrow night and see what our Knicks have, you know, against the Denver Nuggets, who had a close loss tonight against Detroit. And tomorrow, man, it's going to be a nice test. Physical game, you know, coming into MSG, their lone trip to MSG, right? Karl Anthony Towns usually gets up for the Joker, and we'll see you there, man. Post-game live. Blessings, big up to the Knicks streets. We'll see you tomorrow, man. Peace.